Orders, the Sun Order and the Moon Accord lived in harmony. They guarded the Celestial Gate, a portal to unimaginable power. But harmony could not last. Greed poisoned the hearts of the Sun Order. They craved the gate's power. A war erupted, tearing the world asunder. The Moon Accord fought bravely, but the Sun Order was stronger. In a final act of desperation, the Moon Accord sealed the Celestial Gate. Peace returned, but at a terrible cost. The world was plunged into darkness. The Sun Order vanished, their fate unknown. Legends whispered of a chosen one, a seer who would rise. He would possess the power to reopen the Celestial Gate. The world waited. The world hoped. Elior loved the market. It was his favorite place in all of Sunhaven, a place where he felt truly alive. The market was always buzzing with energy, a kaleidoscope of sights and sounds that never failed to captivate him. It was a riot of colors, smells and sounds. The aroma of freshly baked bread mingled with the scent of exotic spices, creating an intoxicating blend that made his mouth water. Vendors shouted their wares, each trying to outdo the other, adding to the cacophony that filled the air. He weaved through the crowd, dodging grumpy merchants and stray chickens. His stomach rumbled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since morning. The market was a maze, but Elior knew every twist and turn by heart. He eyed a baker's stall laden with honey cakes. The golden treats glistened in the sunlight, and he could almost taste their sweetness. He reached into his pocket, feeling the few coins he had saved up.
Elior.
A voice cut through the noise. It was a familiar voice, one that always brought a smile to his face. It was his best friend, Maya. She was waving energetically, her face bright with excitement. Elior's heart lifted at the sight of her. She waved, her face bright with excitement. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and Elior found himself grinning back at her.
Look what I found.
She held up a shimmering blue feather. It was unlike anything Elior had ever seen, its iridescent surface catching the light in a mesmerizing dance of colors.
Wow, Elior breathed. Forgetting his hunger, the feather was beautiful, almost magical.
Elior and Maya spent hours in the market. They explored every nook and cranny, discovering hidden treasures and marveling at the wonders around them. They bartered for trinkets, traded stories, and laughed until their bellies hurt. The market was their playground, a place where they could forget their worries and just be kids. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows. The market began to quiet down, the once bustling stalls now closing up for the day.
I better get going, Maya sighed. The day had been long, but it had been filled with joy and adventure. My father will be looking for me. She looked back at Elior, a hint of sadness in her eyes.
Elior nodded, suddenly feeling weary. The excitement of the day had taken its toll, and he realized how tired he was. He turned to leave, but a hand on his shoulder stopped him. He turned back, curious to see who it was. The hand was cold. Elior turned, heart pounding. A woman stood before him. Her face was hidden by a deep hood. A silver pendant shaped like a crescent moon glinted at her neck.
"You have something that belongs to me," she rasped. Her voice was low and urgent.
I don't understand.
The woman leaned closer. Elior could smell lavender and something else, something ancient and powerful.
"The pouch," she whispered. "Give it to me, it's imperative."
Elior's hand instinctively went to his satchel. Inside, nestled among his meager possessions, was a small leather pouch. He had found it earlier, tucked beneath a loose floorboard in his room. He had thought nothing of it at the time. Now his fingers tingled with an unknown energy emanating from the pouch. Suddenly, shouts erupted from the edge of the market. Two men in gleaming armor, their faces grim, pushed through the crowd. The symbol of the Sun Order, a blazing sun, was etched on their breastplates. Fear gripped Elior's heart. The Sun Order were the stuff of legends, rumored to be ruthless and powerful.
"They're here for you," the woman hissed. "Don't let them take the pouch. Run!"
Before Elior could react, the woman shoved him aside, her cloak billowing behind her. He stumbled, landing hard on the cobblestones. The guards were getting closer. Panic surged through him. He scrambled to his feet and ran, the pouch bouncing heavily against his chest.
Sprinting through the winding streets, I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. The city was a maze, each turn a gamble, each alley a potential trap. The cobblestones beneath my feet were slick with rain, making every step a precarious dance between speed and balance. My lungs felt like they were on fire, each breath a searing reminder of my desperation. The air was thick with the scent of wet stone and distant smoke, mingling with the metallic taste of fear on my tongue. I could hear the heavy footsteps of the guards getting closer and closer. Their shouts echoed off the narrow walls, a cacophony of urgency and authority. I knew they wouldn't stop until they had me. Ducking down a narrow alley, I hoped to lose them in the labyrinthine backstreets. The shadows were my only allies, cloaking me in their embrace as I slipped further into the darkness. My heart pounded in my chest, a relentless drumbeat of fear and determination. Each thud was a reminder of what was at stake, of the precious cargo I carried. I pressed myself against the cool stone wall, feeling its rough texture against my back. The chill seeped through my clothes, a stark contrast to the heat of my exertion. Trying to catch my breath, I listened intently for any sign of pursuit. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant murmur of the city.
Elior's hand brushed against the pouch, feeling its warmth. It was a comforting presence, a beacon of hope in the midst of chaos. A faint humming vibrated against his palm, a gentle reminder of the power contained within. The crystal was more than just a trinket. It was a key to something far greater. Curiosity got the better of him. Despite the danger, he couldn't resist the urge to see the source of the warmth and the hum. He untied the leather cord and peered inside. The anticipation was almost unbearable, each second stretching into an eternity.
Nestled in the soft velvet lining was a crystal. It was unlike anything I had ever seen, its surface smooth and flawless, its light mesmerizing. It pulsed with an inner light, a rhythm that seemed to sync with my own heartbeat. The glow was both soothing and invigorating, a paradox of calm and energy. Casting dancing shadows on the alley walls, the light created an otherworldly atmosphere. It was as if the crystal was alive, its energy palpable in the air. As I touched it, the crystal flared, its light intensifying to a blinding brilliance. The sudden burst of energy was overwhelming, enveloping me completely, bathing me in blinding light. The crystal's power surged through me. It was as if I had become one with the light, every fiber of my being illuminated.
A jolt of energy surged through Elior and he cried out. The sensation was both exhilarating and excruciating, a torrent of raw power coursing through his veins. Images flashed before his eyes, a swirling vortex of energy, a sealed gate, a crescent moon. Each vision was more vivid than the last, a tapestry of symbols and omens, and a blazing sun locked in a celestial dance. The visions were a puzzle, each piece a clue to a greater mystery that awaited him. The light faded. Elior blinked, disoriented. He was no longer in the alley. He stood in a clearing, the forest around him alive with strange whispers. Standing before him was a man unlike any he had seen before. He was tall and imposing, clad in golden armor that seemed to shimmer with an inner fire. A sword, its blade wreathed in flames, hung at his side.
So you are the one.
Who are you?
Elior stammered, clutching the crystal, its light now dimmed.
I am Solen, commander of the Sun Guard, and you possess something that belongs to my order.
Elior took a step back.
I don't know what you're talking about. This crystal, it chose me.
Solen laughed. It was a cruel, humorless sound.
Chosen? You are but a pawn in a game you do not understand.
He drew his sword. The air crackled with energy.
Now hand over the crystal, boy, and I may yet grant you a swift death.
Elior knew he couldn't fight, but he wouldn't surrender the crystal. He didn't know why, but it felt important. It felt right. As Solen lunged, the crystal in Elior's hand flared to life. A shockwave of energy erupted, throwing Solen back. Elior cried out as the energy flowed through him, tingling, electrifying. He felt different, stronger, as if something ancient had awakened within him.
You have a destiny to fulfill, Elior. You are the last seer, the only one who can reopen the celestial gate. She turned to Elior, her eyes filled with an ancient wisdom. He's gone. For now. The woman smiled sadly. What happened? Where's Solen? You're awake. I was beginning to think you wouldn't wake up. Elior groaned. His head throbbed, his vision blurred. He was lying on something soft, furs maybe. He opened his eyes slowly. He was in a cave. the walls lit by a soft blue glow emanating from crystals that sprouted from the stone like luminous flowers. He sat up, his gaze falling on the woman from the marketplace. She was tending a small fire, her hood now thrown back, revealing long silver hair and kind eyes. Elior's mind raced, trying to piece together the fragments of his memory. The last thing he remembered was the chaos in the marketplace, the blinding light, and then darkness. "What happened?" he asked, his voice hoarse. The woman looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mix of sorrow and determination. "Solen was taken by the Shadow Clan," she said softly. "They seek to control the Celestial Gate for their own dark purposes." Elior's heart sank. Solen, his mentor and friend, was in grave danger. He knew he had to act, but the weight of his destiny felt overwhelming. "I have to save him," Elior said, determination hardening his voice. The woman nodded, her expression resolute. "Take this," she said, handing him a small, glowing amulet. "It will guide you to the Celestial Gate and protect you from the Shadow Clan's magic." Elior took the amulet, feeling its warmth seep into his skin. He knew the journey ahead would be perilous, but he was ready to face it. With a final nod to the woman, Elior stood up, ready to embrace his destiny and save Solen from the clutches of the Shadow Clan.
Elior stared at the woman, his mind reeling. Seer? Celestial Gate? It was too much. He was just Elior, a baker's son, a nobody. He couldn't be the hero in some grand prophecy. The woman placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch surprisingly strong.
"You possess a power beyond your understanding, Elior. The fate of the world rests on your shoulders."
Elior looked down at his hands. They trembled slightly, but he felt a surge of something new within him, courage, determination, and a flicker of hope. He was the seer, and his journey was just beginning.